The love you call by name is not truth or a moment of awakening. It is a loss of self, a pause in the quest to forge your own being. When you drown yourself in love, you do not uncover who you are. You surrender to a delusion mirrored in another's eyes. In Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, the self is not a fixed essence. It is shaped through a dialectical struggly dynamic clash between self and world, freedom and limits, the known and the uncharted. Yet when you rush headlong into love, blind to its demands, you reject this struggle. You cling to a woman, not to discover your true self. You do it to flee the pain of facing the person you could become. In Phenomenology of Spirit, Hegel portrays the struggle for recognition not as a pursuit of validation or praise, but as a deep yearning to be seen as a free consciousness. Mutual recognition, he argues, forms the bedrock of self-awareness, but only when rooted in reciprocity and inner strength. If you plead for acknowledgement from someone unwilling to grant it, if you attach yourself to someone who does not see freedom in you, you do not mature into a person. You become enslaved to your own psyche, existing only in their gaze. You believe your devotion demonstrates commitment? Hegel would argue it lays bare your fragility. You think falling deeply in love reveals a profound soul? Hegel would contend you have yet to forge a true soul, for love without self-awareness is mere dependence. It is when you surrender your journey of self-formation to another, expecting them to shape you, but know neither girlfriend, wife, nor the one who left can define you. Without confronting your dialectical tensions, without questioning or transcending yourself, you have nothing to be recognized for, only a hollow craving. Hegel's master-slave dialectic reveals a brutal truth about dependent relationships. You ache, obsess, and crumble when she leaves because you live through her gaze as your mirror. The value you derived from her vanishes, shattering your fragile identity. You do not suffer from losing love, but from never having found your own footing. Shame should arise not for loving, but for confusing love with evasion. You made her your mirror, your healer, even your savior, and called it devotion. But devotion is not flight from responsibility. It is a refusal of freedom, duty, and the truth that no one is born whole. You must become yourself through effort, through solitude, through the fire of inner struggle and reflection. The man who falls too hard does not need more love. He needs to face himself, to grapple with his fears, with the part of him that longs to entrust his identity to someone gentler, promising to ease his pain. But that pain is vital. It is the fire, as Hegel declares, that propels you toward truth. If you drown your dialectical contradictions in passion, you squander the only chance to become a truly resolute man. If you rush recklessly into love, blind and unreflective, you risk not only suffering but never realizing the self you could become. The paradox is merciless. The more you believe you're bearing your heart, the more you enslave yourself to another, turning love into a cage of your own making. You think your devotion displays nobility? Hegel would assert it's a veiled form of domination masked by romantic ideals. You don't truly love her. You hunger for her to affirm your worth, seeking proof through her presence, her gaze, her closeness, that you are enough, that your life matters. But that's not love. It's an unconscious usurpation of her spiritual worth. You paint yourself as the victim when she leaves, but it was you who tried to forge your identity from her freedom. When she refuses to uphold your delusion, everything crumbles, leaving you confronting the void of your own emptiness. The pain stems not from her, but from the abyss in the self you relied on. Hegel terms this dependent consciousness, a state sustained through dialectical dependence on another's approval. It binds you in psychological servitude, where obsession and fear replace authentic living. Instead of being yourself, you orchestrate words, actions, even emotions to preserve her gaze as your mirror. But that reflection is fleeting, never truly yours. Thus, you live in terror of its loss. Her every silence becomes a threat, every distance a searing wound, because they reveal the truth. You've never known yourself apart from her perception. Hegel asserts with piercing clarity, true recognition cannot arise from a posture of servitude, where you plead for your existence through another's regard. That's why the responsibility is yours, not hers. She was never meant to keep you whole. When you rely on her to shape yourself, you not only let her down, but also betray yourself. Hegel believes you do not find a destination. You must constantly become one. You cannot find comfort in another's approval. You must forge yourself through the fire of your dialectical contradictions, grapple with your inner struggles, and create yourself through painful trials. Endure, reflect, grow. In doing so, only when you no longer depend on another's gaze can love become real. Then, you see her not as a means to completion, but as a meeting with another whole soul. No illusions, no dependence, just truth. That love doesn't destroy you. It reveals who you are. But most men never reach this love because they stop at the first sign of acceptance, mistaking her gaze for their own self. That's not identity. It's dependence in disguise. Hegel is clear. To be free, you must be recognized as a free man, a person with contradictions and inner strength, not a beggar craving affection as if it were life itself. If you act like a child, bending to others just to be accepted, the love you receive will diminish you. It enslaves you to your emotions, leaving you in dread of losing attention. The collapse of a relationship isn't just heartbreak. It lays bare the truth. How much of your confidence was a sham? How much of your love was a bid to hide loneliness? Hegel demands a confrontation. You want to be loved, but you haven't dared to love yourself. The spirit is a process, forged through a dialectical struggle of conflict and disillusionment. When she leaves, don't rebuild an illusory mask. Ask yourself, what in you is real? What is desperate craving? What is merely a plea for recognition? Most men flee this question, diving into a new relationship to numb the pain. But each time they do, they bury the chance Hegel reveals, to let pain shatter the false, to let the true self rise. You cannot love until you become. Face the contradictions, for that's where becoming begins. To become strong, you must confront pain unflinchingly. Abandon the delusion that a woman will save you. Embark on the journey to forge yourself a self no one can bestow and no pain can steal. Only then will you earn true recognition. Only then can you love authentically. You think pain makes you profound? Suffering without reflection is a futile cycle, casting you as a tragic figure overly sensitive, drowning in feelings. Hegel doesn't care what you feel. He cares who you become. Pain must not become a mask to postpone the truth. You confuse love with salvation, recognition with understanding. You don't seek love. You hunger for relief, longing to dissolve into her to evade the self you've yet to forge through struggle. Hegel insists, the self emerges through negation, not physical death, but a dialectical shattering of comfortable illusions, the dreams of approval. This shattering is daunting, but without it, you cannot grow. Most men shy away, enslaved to a desperate need to be seen not because they're worthy, but because they can't exist without it. They believe love equals understanding, but deep down, they know it's a lie. Thus, they live in dread of abandonment, of loneliness, of the stillness when love shatters. Yet that stillness is pregnant with truth. Hegel demands you dwell in it. Don't flee. Don't seek another's embrace to fill the void. Listen to the stillness. Let it dismantle the illusory mask you've crafted, stripping away lies and pretenses. In that stillness, the spirit begins its true journey. As you endure, a profound transformation occurs. You gradually cease needing others' gazes to affirm your existence. You forge yourself through resilience and lucidity, not applause. That lucidity stings, but it demolishes the false to unveil the self you've always yearned to be. That's freedom, in Hegel's view, not invincibility, but authentic being, needing no recognition to affirm your existence. If you pass through the fire of your contradictions, if you stop chasing delusions, you'll stand firm, no longer falling too hard, because you have become. Genuine self-knowledge doesn't come easily. It doesn't arise from quotes, hollow advice, or tears over the past. It comes from grappling with dialectical contradictions without collapsing. Hegel calls this Aufhebung, remarkable dialectical process where part of your identity is destroyed, but its valuable fragments are preserved and reshaped. You don't discard your old being. You shatter the illusory mask, gather your strength, desires, and urge to connect, and rebuild them through a dialectical struggle around truth. That truth is this: the man who falls too hard has never learned to stand on his own. To stand on your own means bearing the weight of pain without apology. It's about becoming your own foundation, standing firm through the fire of rejection, failure, and silence, and declaring, "I still exist. I don't need another's approval to affirm my existence." But most men evade this truth. They mistake strength for indifference, masking emotions to hide it. Indifference is merely another facade, a way to sidestep contradictions. True strength lies in feeling deeply without being consumed by the need for others to complete you. Hegel warns, "A mind reliant on others to define its worth sacrifices its freedom, becoming a mere specter haunted by the identity it could have been." To break the cycle of falling, you need more than discipline. You must embrace your contradictions, welcoming discomfort as a mark of growth. The void she left isn't a flaw. It's potential to forge an identity from freedom. When love's delusions fade, the true journey begins. Free of dependence, free from begging for recognition. Just you, facing the road ahead. That strength is silent yet unyielding, born when you accept no one will save you. Hegel seeks not to comfort but to awaken. Your identity isn't innate, it's earned through struggle. The greatest danger isn't failure. It's believing love can resolve your inner turmoil. Love rooted in dependence collapses under its own expectations. Yet that collapse is vital, returning you to yourself, the only foundation that endures. Cease mistaking evasion for love. See suffering not as loss, but as a chance to dismantle the illusory mask. You entrusted her with shaping your worth, then raged when she couldn't bear it. But that duty was always yours. The part of you yearning for protection, for validation, must be confronted and overcome. Women aren't here to mend you. They come to meet you. Only when you stand unshaken on your own foundation are you ready for a love that doesn't diminish you but lets you shine. As Hegel portrays, mutual recognition is the moment when two souls behold each other, not as instruments or illusions, but as free beings, each whole with their own consciousness. Free from dependence, free from pleading, free from collapse. This is authentic love, where two individuals stand in mutual presence, not to complete, but to encounter one another. Yet you cannot attain this while grasping at the vestiges of a brittle self, craving others to affirm your wholeness. You cannot love with clarity until you see yourself unwarped by her gaze. To ascend, you must cease seeking worth in external validation. You face a choice: cling to worn paths, dubbing dependence your fate or your depth, or embark on a journey to forge your identity through a dialectical struggle. Not to reclaim her, but to become the person you were destined to be. Only then will you be prepared to embrace love without dissolving into it. The world acknowledges you only when you affirm yourself. For Hegel, this self-recognition arises not from flattery or praise, but from grappling with dialectical contradictions, the chasm between who you are and who you feign to be, between your yearning for wholeness and the dread of your fractured soul. The man who falls too hard often shuns this reckoning. He chases love before finding lucidity, constructing his identity on fleeting validation. But when that validation fades, he sees he's forsaken what made him worthy, his inner freedom. She didn't shatter you. You were already broken. She merely laid bare the truth, a vacuous, tormented, dependent mind. Now, you can lament the shattered delusion, or begin to forge anew not a superficial image, but the authentic self within, lost in the fervor of love. Hegel presents no simple refuge, only a grueling yet vital path. Those who evade the fire of self-examination cannot grasp freedom. Those who fail to conquer dependence cannot love truly. Until you perceive yourself through the unyielding honesty of self-reflection, not her gaze, you'll replay the same tragedy with new faces. The journey starts with solitude, not as punishment, but as a cleansing. You need space to reclaim your identity, to hear the voice drowned by fear and pretense. Then comes discipline, not rigid ritual, but a pledge to probe the motives fueling your need for connection. Reflection, for Hegel, is the essence of becoming. Without it, you merely react, grasping instead of loving. Finally, There's creation, shattering illusions, to build a life anchored in truth and resilience. A mind honed by inquiry, a soul sculpted by inner labor. This foundation renders you unyielding, not aloof, but steadfast, vibrant, free. When you navigate this path, love sheds its weight. It becomes an encounter where you offer rather than demand. The myth of wholeness through love is a deception. Your dependence isn't love. It's flight from your truth. Cease wielding love to elude your becoming. Confront fear, not to recoil, but to transcend. Craft meaning from your intellect, your liberty, your relentless truth. Only then will you emerge as a man who loves not from lack, but from fullness.